probably like a lot of you that you work full time, and when you get to do your seed starting is at night. So we are losing a little bit of light. I'm sorry about that. But this is when I can start my seeds. So we're gonna go with it. And I have a beautiful light above me. There's a heater on in here, pointed at me. And we're gonna start some seeds. So what I have to start my seeds is my tray that I started. I have my pen, brand new for the season. How exciting! And I have tags, my seeds, my seed starting list, and I'll get a dibble. Do you use dibbles or just the back of your pen? Maybe you scatter your seeds on top and then put something, dry soil on top, or just sprinkle. So here we go. According to my list, I need to start my onions first, or anything from my allium family. Allium. And those are things like white onions, red onions, but it's also your leeks, scallions, green onions, chives. I'm in zone 9B, and so I need to do kind of mid-range onions. So onions come in 3 different types. It's either short day, long day, or intermediate. If I do intermediate, I'm pretty good where I live. So I'll be doing candy onions again. Those turned out wonderful for me. I'll also do some Australian brown, because honestly I don't know which white onion it was that did so fabulous. So I'll just do both. I have some bunching onions, but I'm gonna pass this year because last year I planted Egyptian walking onions, which are similar in the green onion eating, and they're perennial. So I wanna see if those come back first. I don't need to start chives because those are perennial, and I did see that my purple and pink flowering chives are both coming back. New this year, I'm gonna try Walla Walla onions. And again, I will do a little bit of red onion, these red Floyd onions from Haw Seeds. I don't prefer leeks, so I'm not gonna start those either. So let's get started. How I like to start my seeds, my onions, is 1 cell for a variety, and I will just heavily plant them. So let's write our type down. Red Floyd. I also mark things before I plant them so I don't mess up. Walla Walla. And I have grown Walla Walla onions before, but I had bought the plants started already. But starting your onions is such a simple thing to do that I recommend everyone does it. It's such a savings. And I was absolutely able to grow a year's worth of onions plus some last year. I ended up making freezing onions in both sliced and diced form. I still have some raw onions from last year that there's a white onion that lasted really long. I have pickled red onions. I used them in all of my salsa, all of my spaghetti sauce, anything that needed onion for my canning. I used the onions I grew last year. And then I also made French onion soup canned. I did onion jam for the first time, which is delicious. And I did caramelized onions and canned those. So really successful year of onions. Let's see. That's all I have left of my candy onions. So, and I'm gonna plant these all in the one tray of candy. Maybe not. Maybe I'm gonna do 2. That seems like a lot. How many onions do you think I need? How many onions are you starting? 100? It's not like you ever actually count the seeds. Okay, so I'm only starting actually half of what was in this. I'm loving these new packages that M.I. Gardener came out with this year. They're more, they have like a shininess to them, whereas his packages of seeds used to have, they used to be a bit more like just paper, and I would get them wet, and they also didn't have quite as nice of a glue on the back for resealing. Really like what he's done this year. I'm actually going to do some more Walla Wallas because that might be fun to give some of my neighbors. And then once these grow up, not a problem at all. I don't have to thin them. I just will tear the roots completely apart and put them out, and they will be happy as pie. Oh no! I'm gonna grow onions on my greenhouse floor, I guess. So I am going, a trick that I do is I used all of these Walla Walla onions, but I want to remember the variety for when I'm doing my seed starting. I don't want to forget, oh, I want Walla Wallas and I'm out. So what I do is I put an X on the corner, so I know it's empty. It's obviously empty, but then I know order these seeds, and I'll put it at the front. Amazing! Alliums are done. Actually, that's not true. I need to actually plant them. So I'm just gonna kind of push them in. Again, just an open leftover bag. This stuff is dry. So this is also just, you know, really nice soil that doesn't have any like big chunks in it. It's organic. Something I probably got at Lowe's or Home Depot. And I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit, have a little on top, a little bit. And you want to plant your seeds about 3 times, you know, if it's a little itty bitty, 3 times double down. Seeds want to grow, so I've never found it to be an issue. So just a tiny little bit of soil on top, and we'll water that in. And this soil is not quite as old as the other, so it's not completely dry like the seed starting mix was. And then the last tool I'll show you is, this is what I use to do my seed starting watering. It's such a light mist until the seeds come up, so I really like this to start. See how light and gentle that is? Perfect. Onions are done. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that off of my list. How exciting! That's the very first thing I've planted this year. Onions. Okay, so next thing on the list is celery. And actually, I was cleaning out my garden this last weekend, and I was really surprised. I saw my celery is actually growing back from last year. Must just be that I'm a 9B. I've never grown celery before last year, so I wouldn't have known that. I also have a thing called cutting celery, and it's considered an herb, but and it is coming back ferociously. I bought that seed from Johnny Seeds, and the cutting celery, it's not going to serve you if you like to snack on celery with like put peanut butter on it, but for what I use it, which is flavoring stock, soups, maybe if I'm making a bolognese that calls for celery and onions, that's what I use it for, and it grows all year long just like any herb does. So I find that that is a better solution for me. Cutting celery. If you've not tried cutting celery, I suggest give it a try. You might find that you enjoy it. So I'm not going to start celery this year. Next thing on the list is it says I should start parsley. I do have in the garden curly parsley, but I noticed that my flat parsley is not coming back, and I do like to have flat parsley for certain dishes, and I think it's really pretty for decoration on plates. So let's find my parsley and get that started. I also already have dill in the garden, so I don't need to start any more dill, but right now would be the time to do that if I wanted to have dill. And perfect. Here's my herb box, and I'd already organized this when I was trying to decide what to put in the planner, and parsley's right up front for me because I knew I was going to want to start it. I'm going to do one tray of parsley, or one cell of parsley, this one, but I'm going to plant just 3 plants. And if I only end up with 1 parsley, that's all I need, and no neighbor has asked for parsley, so I think that'll be fine. And these are tiny seeds, so I'm just going to put 2 in each hole, and not very deep at all. Go. And these seeds were just a gift from a colleague of mine one year. Got a package of like 100. I think they were of different varieties that were on Amazon, and you know what? They work perfectly well. So I'm gonna mark my parsley. Oh, I didn't write my name yet. Flat parsley. Okay, so it looks like now we're on to cabbage, Swiss chard, kale. I have kale growing out there, so I might not start any more. Cabbage, Swiss chard, kale, collards, kohlrabi, mustard, lettuce, broccoli, cauliflower, and then onto my peppers. I don't know. Should I do my flowers in this big seed cell, or should I do my brassicas? Because the brassicas go out really quickly. I don't know what I want to do. I do really miss having salad, so let's skip over to the lettuce. This year, I'm gonna try this new slow bolt lettuce, new to me, slow bolt lettuce. I'm hoping that it's slow to bolt. I'm also going to do some iceberg. Merlot. Butter crunch. And purple romaine. Now, for all of these, we could be doing multiple successions of these. So really I'm just gonna start a little bit, and then I can continue to grow these throughout the year. I'd like to get some started. And just as I'm dibbling really deeply, I'm realizing lettuce seeds are very small, so they just kind of need to be scratched into the top, just barely planted. So do that, redo that. This red romaine, I had a really good stand of last year. See how small those are. They're so small, in fact, that I think I just got 5 in one hole. We'll thin those out when they come up. I can also direct seed this lettuce when it warms up a little bit more. So I will do that. I'll do some like the baby leaf lettuce varieties. I will direct seed in my beds when it's time. It's kind of nice to just get some started now. Be really fun. I haven't actually been able to get an iceberg lettuce head to grow to full size, probably because I haven't thinned them and forgot that they were iceberg and not just regular lettuce to eat, but I think that'd be really fun to actually see a full iceberg head. And I get it, I like to have special varieties too, because of course you can go and buy, I don't know, a couple dollars for an iceberg head of lettuce at the grocery store, maybe $5 if it's organic here where I live. This is kind of typical and available, so that's why I like to also grow lots of different varieties too. But everyone loves a wedge salad, right? And iceberg's so good for that, especially with I'm thinking of summer now with wedges of tomatoes and my homemade blue cheese dressing. Oh, yum. Looks like the greenhouse is staying kind of warm. It's dropping though. It's now 50. All right, so that's good for the lettuce. 5 varieties. We don't want too much to come on too quickly. I have certainly lots of lettuce. This is all lettuce varieties. Mark that off. Red romaine, slow bolt, merlot, butter crunch, iceberg. And then tomatoes and peppers, eggplant for my neighbor. I feel like we've made really good progress as far as the onions being in. That makes me feel a lot better. Getting the greenhouse cleaned up, getting the heating situation in, this heating seat mats, and then just kind of wrapping my head around how I'm going to utilize this new space. So I'm going to call it a night and go in to have dinner with Sean. Thank you so much for joining me here in my greenhouse and for sharing this journey with me and my mom. We had such a good visit this last week, and it's going to be really special to watch all of this grow with her. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, please consider liking, and if you want to continue to follow our journey as we go back to our roots, then please consider subscribing. And until next time, I hope you have a joy-filled day.